Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, October 21st, 2024. Yeah, 3 weeks into October. And I think that means Halloween is right around the corner or something like that. And then the next week, y'all know what you need to do. You need to go vote. Make sure I say that. Go vote. Um, Not going down any path, but go vote. Okay. Uh, this live stream is typically done on Monday nights at 7 o'clock. And if you're new to the live stream, we try to focus on classic cars, talk about cars and problems and maybe ideas, and try to help people solve problems with their restoration projects and stuff like that. So um, if you're new, then I ask you to leave a comment, sign in basically, let me know you're here. And if you would give a thumbs up, leave a comment, of course, and let YouTube know that you're watching the stream, and maybe it'll help other people to get involved and keep the stream going. Right now, when I say classic cars, for me that bracket is 55 to about 79 or 80. We do occasionally go into some newer cars. Try not to do that too much because a lot of that stuff can be complicated. Newer cars have a lot of computers, a lot of electrical gremlins, and different things like that. And there's really not much you can do or talk about necessarily whenever you're trying to do this in person or one on one, whatever. Um, so again, if you're interested in bringing up a subject matter or have a problem you want to talk about, by all means, I welcome you to do it. Now, just to give you some other background here, I know a lot of people come to the stream. They've already been here. They know the parameters. They know where I'm at. They know what I'm doing. But in most cases, if somebody's new, they may not know that I work on pretty much Mustangs. I try to do full restoration type stuff on classic Mustangs. I work on a 65 to 70 mostly. Occasionally, I do collision type work, repair work, which you see behind me over here is a bumper cover, and I'm helping out some friends who have some damage to their 2012 Toyota Camry. I don't normally do that kind of stuff anymore. Sometimes it could be a hindrance to trying to get work done, but in this case, I'm just helping out some friends. But I try to show everybody what they can do on their own working on a project in their garage. I've had some people bring up some or make some comments on maybe some Facebook posts or even some videos. And I'm one person in a garage, and that's basically it. Maybe I should just change the name of the channel to One Guy in a Garage. I don't have an unlimited budget. I don't have tons of resources. I do have good tools. I do have a lot of experience. But I try to do stuff in a way I think that everybody may be able to get to or do. So in one instance, I had some rust on the back of some panels, and I had cleaned off all the rust as best I could, and I treated it with a rust dissolver type of material, and then I put epoxy on top of that, which in effect locks it all in. There's nowhere for it to go after that. And the comments were made like, "Oh, that should have been media blasted," or you should have done this or should have done that. And that's an option, sure, but not everybody's going to have that available to them. I think whenever I do stuff, it's more like you can do this in your garage too, and so that's kind of my approach on things. But anyway, I've been trying to get stuff done. I've done a little bit on the Mustang the past week, the Cobra Jet that I'm working on, and of course I'm working on getting this Camry back together. And with these newer cars, you run into a lot of variables. Headlights are all plastic, and you could have a broken plug, socket for a part of the lights, whatever. And so I had to go on a scavenger hunt. I've gone to the U-Pullet yard, and oddly enough, the U-Pullet yard 2012 to 14 Camry, they had none. They had none in the whole place, and it's huge. And so I went looking for, I don't have it in here, I went looking for a little side marker plug. And, they change those things with every model. It seems like they don't want to carry that over. But I happened to find one from an '09 Camry that was the same. So little things like that will slow you down in the process. Now, granted, you can order a new set of headlights that have the lights and everything in them, but I did not realize whenever I made the order for the headlights, because all the other ones were good, that little plug was bad. However, I found a new one and I replaced it, so we're good to go on that. Anyway, a lot going on, of course, throughout the shop and everywhere else, but we're gonna see what we can talk about tonight, and we'll see who is here. And first in, early, Rick Stevenson. Good evening, everyone. Oh yeah, you get a bell too for showing up. And because Rick is my favorite coffee guy, I have to take a sip of coffee when he shows up. Sometimes he's late. Now, you also see this is my Steelers mug. The Steelers won last night, so I celebrate by drinking coffee out of the Steelers cup. Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. Evening, Dave. First Dave sighting. Glad you're here. Terry Keithley. Good evening, everyone. Please hit the thumbs up and like for Barry, Terry, and Betty, and the cats. Thank you, Terry. Glad you're here. Gotta have the cats watching, or it just doesn't count. Travis Holtman. Good evening, all. I hope today all your dreams and aspirations come true. Well, that's very encouraging, Travis. Also my #1 patron. Thank you. Steve Reed. Hello, Barry and everyone. And thumbs up for Barry and his amazing work. Well, thank you, Steve Reed, from Paducah, Kentucky. I just have to say that. I like saying Paducah. It's one of those words. Roger, Hindsight 67, greetings from next door. Glad you're here, Raj. C and J Hoyt. Good evening, all. Good evening. And we have Robert, the Infernal Craftsman. Evening, all. Great weather here. Well, until it's back to the 90s later this week. Yeah. Well, it's been pretty nice here, I will say. I was trying to get these panels taken care of over the weekend and really struggled with some temperature issues. Ended up with some runs. So on the clear coat, so I had to address that. But I think I have everything figured out. I'm still waiting on some parts. So I need like the little bumper carriers that go on the edge of the fender. There's some plugs that hold the the liner in the hood, and I think there's something else that I'm waiting on. Oh, yeah, I got it in my hand. The little water or windshield washer thing. It's a check valve actually. So it has an input and it has an arrow on it, and so you have fluid coming in and 2 outlets on it, and essentially this fell apart when I tried to take it out. This just crumbled. The end broke right off. Turned the hose, did it on 2 of the outlets. So amazingly enough, they have these on Amazon. So not the headlight or not the little side marker light socket, but they had the nozzle piece there. So good to go on that. Black GTX. Hello, everyone. Hello, sir. Glad you're here. Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. The weather has been absolutely beautiful since we've been home. I don't know why Robert is complaining. Anyway, have a good stream. Thank you, Jerry. Rusty's Restoration. Hello, all, and Barry. Hope all is well. How is the repair project coming? Everyone give a thumbs up. Thank you, Rusty. Yeah, it's coming along. Like I said, I've got to wait for a few pieces and parts to come in, and then I can start putting everything back together. It's just, waiting on some stuff right now, and it'll be probably in the next, maybe by Wednesday, everything will be here, and I can just finish buttoning it all up and get it out the door. So looking forward to that. Thank you. Dave Conville, second Dave sighting. Nope, got a gnat. Good evening. Good evening, Dave. Glad you're here. We're going to go with Sammy Smith. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Welcome. Glad you're here. Betty Keithley. Hi, Barry. Do you like baseball? World Series starts Friday at 7. That's a great question. That is a great question. And I will say I do like baseball, but I really don't go out of my way to watch it. I don't know. I just don't have the I don't not that I mind. I don't mind watching a game. I enjoy the game. I brought this up one time before. As a kid growing up in Pennsylvania, um, of course I'm a Pirates fan, and I remember sitting in my grandmother's house and listening to the baseball game. And to me, it's almost like you can't beat that feeling of sitting and listening to a baseball game. You can watch it on TV, that's fine. Going to the game is awesome too. But I don't know, I have great memories of listening to games in the 70s and 80s with my grandmother. And you just have, when you have a great announcer, you can see that game without being there. And that's one thing I used to really enjoy was listening to a baseball game and sitting with my grandmother, who knows, playing cards or something. We used to always play cards. So yes, that's I do enjoy baseball. I think it's fun. I know that like my wife, she doesn't like to go to the games necessarily. I mean, she'll go, but she's like, baseball's so boring. They're not even scoring any runs, and I'm like, no, that's incredible. That tells you it's a really good game, and you got some really good pitchers and defense and strategies going for them to not have any score. It's whenever you just see it 8-2 or 9 or whatever 10 runs. It's like, that's not really that good of a game. So, anyway, yes, I do like baseball, and I have. I probably won't watch the World Series, but I'll keep up with it just from a distance and see who wins. But yeah, that's where I'm at with baseball. Good question, Betty. And she also says the cats and I are ready for it. Okay. David checking in, the bowler hat guy. Hello all. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, David. Glad you're here. Mr. Mikey, 1949. Howdy, y'all. Howdy, Mr. Mikey. And Blind Luck Mechanic. Working on this old V8 swapped 98 Ford Ranger. Also working on the 65 Coupe. Very fast, very fast. Okay. And I'm trying to. I know I follow Blind Luck Mechanic on Facebook, and he posted something today, and I'm trying to. I wanted to make sure I understood what he was trying to say because he is blind, by the way, not just blind luck. He's blind, and he works on cars, and I think that's incredible. And he made a post today, and I'm gonna share that. I forget where it was at. He asks if if you all would help me out. I have an opportunity to do something, but I need your help. If everyone would click on the button to invite your friends to look and follow the page. So I don't know what that's all about, but give them a shot. You know, if you're on Facebook and you look up Blind Luck Mechanic, check him out. Look him up on YouTube. I know a lot of his videos are short, and it's a challenge. I watch what he does, and it's pretty incredible because he can't see. And so as he's doing these things and taking measurements and different stuff like that, and I know he has occasionally somebody else help him with filming. Now, it's not going to be, the stuff like I'm doing necessarily, but it is pretty incredible that he's doing these sort of things. So I'm not sure what it's about with the Facebook stuff, but yeah, check him out if you would. So glad you're here. C&J, on the red undercoating, did you use paint or primer, then seal with clear satin? I used a epoxy. I didn't use paint. It was an epoxy primer, and I did not seal it. I don't see any reason to seal it. The epoxy's tough on its own, and also it's not going to be exposed to like sunlight or anything, so it's not shouldn't make any difference on the durability of the epoxy. But no, it was an epoxy undercoating or primer. So good question. Dawn's Manufactory. Hello, folks from Soggy PDX. Hope y'all are doing well. Glad you're here, Dawn. Surprised that it's soggy again. I guess you're not on a road trip. I know last time you were in Ohio, I think, is you had made a trip to Ohio. So looks like you're home. That's good. EJ McConaughey. I'm going to go with McConaughey. Hey, from Carrollton, Georgia. Awesome. Hey, EJ. Glad you're here. McConaughey. Not McConaughey. McConaughey. Blind Luck Mechanic. Do people in other parts of the country and world have gnats like we do here in the South? Question for the viewers. We have swarms. I don't have a. I mean, we have. I don't know about other places. We have gnats, obviously. I know Florida has a big gnat problem. I have them in here, just buzzing around occasionally, but it's not too bad. But I'm sure probably the South has more of the gnat problem than anything else. Terry Keithley says, "Yeah, Grandma. Yeah, talking about baseball. Yeah, yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was also fun because she would watch wrestling. Yeah, my grandmother would watch pro wrestling, and she would yell at those guys. Oh my gosh, she would get so mad, so mad. Oh, Ric Flair and all the old time wrestlers and stuff. But what's funny about that? I'm going to go off a little bit on talk about that just for a second because there's a gnat right there. So I grew up watching. I spent a lot of time with our grandmother, so we would, as I say, watch baseball games on the radio, but we would watch pro wrestling, and Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff and Ravishing Rick Rude and Beef the Barber Beefcake or whatever, the Sheik, all those well-known characters, and we moved here in Georgia to Georgia in '91. And at that time, our town had a small Sears outlet type store. And I needed something. And it was probably 92, 93-ish. I don't remember exactly. So I went to the Sears little outlet store. And I was probably just buying some hardware or tool. I don't know. And I hear these guys talking. And I walked around the end of the stall or end of the end cap or whatever, and I look and I see some of the biggest people I've ever seen in my life, and standing there right in front of me is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and I think Ravishing Rick Rude. I think that was the two guys, and I looked like a kid standing next to Paul Orndorff. I could not believe how massive that guy was. Now what's funny about that, as it turns out, he's lived in our town for a very long time. Very well known. His kids played football, I think, for the high school, whatever. But I was like kind of awestruck for a moment, and I knew who he was, but I wanted to be kind of approach him in a nice way. And I said, "Mr. Wonderful." He says, "Yeah, that's me," and so we chatted for a minute, and I said, "Yeah, I grew up watching you on TV with my grandmother," And he's like, "Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot more lately." Now I don't know how old he was at that time. He was probably in his 40s, I guess. I don't know, 40s, 50s. The guy was still a beast, just incredible. And then he was kind enough to ask me what my name was, and I thought that was really cool. That's kind of things where people like that who have a celebrity status or whatever, and you talk to them, and then if they ask you who you are and stuff like that, it feels a little more personal, which was pretty nice. So okay, let's move on. Fairlane Central. Barry posted a comment and hit send. I saw it post and then it was gone. What's going on? Are you talking about on here? I don't know. I've had that problem before. And I don't know what you posted. And I know that sometimes there may be keywords or something that triggers the system, but I don't know. So I don't know what you'd sent. I'm glad you're here though. So maybe try to resend it, because I've had that before where people have posted something and it just disappeared. So I didn't see it, so I don't know what it was. Blind Luck Mechanic, thank you asking people to like and share the Facebook page. That way I might grow my following. I have a possible sponsorship lined up, so I'm looking to really grow the page. Okay, that makes sense. Good for you. It would be nice to have a sponsor. Let me know how to do that. Get one. Other than my patrons. My patrons are my sponsors right now. That's all I can say about that. And they treat me right. Rick Stevenson. Oh, there's a gnat. Another gnat. Mosquito one. Oh, that's a mosquito. Sorry. Rick Stevenson, 75 and partly cloudy here in Jacksonville. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Dawn's Manufacturing. Raining hard for a couple days. Flood warnings for the coastal region. That's not fun. That's not fun. I hope it doesn't result in that. And Rick Stevenson, yes, our gnats are horrible. Yeah. Yeah, nothing fun about gnats. Black GTX, we have mosquitoes all summer. Yep. Yeah. Blind Luck Mechanic, I think one of the Steiner brothers, either Rick or Scott, is a sheriff in a county, I guess, here in Georgia. That would be interesting. Yeah, one of the Steiners. I don't think you'd want to mess with them. Real Nautical Fishing. Hey Barry and all, just saw a vid of someone using all thread and nuts to level a full floor even after the car is level before welding it. I've never seen you do that. Do you think that's a good idea? Okay, so someone using all thread and nuts to level a floor even after the car is level before welding it. I've never seen you do that. Do you think that's a good idea? I don't know what they're trying to do when you say level the floor. I don't know what the benefit would be, unless, and again, I don't know what the situation is. Like, are they just putting floor pans into a car, and they leveled the car, and now they want to set the floor pan in, and they're just trying to be reassured that the floor pan's level, I guess. I don't know. I've not seen that before, but I could. It's really, if everything is, it depends. You got me kind of stumped a little bit, because whenever I see somebody putting, like, say, floor pans in, or I put in floor pans, typically the floor support is already there. So you put in the pan, floor support supports the floor, and the rest is almost self-aligning. So I don't know what you would gain by doing that. Because especially if it's a one-piece pan, everything pretty much settles into the torque boxes on the rear, the floor supports, and the firewall. I mean, I don't know what else you could. I mean, maybe they're being overly cautious, but I wouldn't worry about that myself. I try to go back to, if I'm using the original pieces like the inner rockers and whatever, I try to leave witness marks, so when I put the new pan back in, I go right back to those marks, clamp it and weld it, and I don't really even think twice about it. Maybe they have some issue with it. Maybe there's something feels like it's out of place and they're just trying to be more careful, but I don't make any effort to go that route. So thank you, though. That's a good question. Nick Bruni. Hey there, sir. After watching your vid many times when you did that brake job on the white 66 Impala, I got the guts to do mine on my 67 Impala SS. It sat for 35 years. Thanks again. Awesome. I'm hoping that wasn't the only thing that was holding your car up, was the bad brakes. But sitting for 35 years, that's cool. That's good. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear you were able to get it going again. That's cool. Robert. I didn't see Fairlane post. Must have been an auto delete. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know. Black GTX switch from top chat to live chat, and then you should be able to see everything. Yeah, see, with me, I'm on StreamYard. I'm not on. I don't see what's going on YouTube. So I only see what's on my StreamYard flow. I can't do both. I can't have both YouTube. I can have them both going, but I can't do anything about what's going on YouTube because I'm controlling everything from StreamYard. So I can't go that route. But let's see. My Mustang Garage, James. Good evening. A little late. Well, that's okay. I'm glad you're here. Hope you're making progress on your convertible. I'm glad you're here. Sorry. Mustang Garage. David Thompson. Hey, everyone looking to do the cowl on a 66 Mustang. Any suggestions, tips, or tricks? Well, yes. Watch my videos. If you go to the Brooklyn Pony series in particular, you will see me. I'll do all that, put in a new cowl. And then if you go to the light blue Mustang 65, I do a cowl on that as well. The biggest things I can say is seam seal the chimneys. That's the little chimney stack they have inside. Put seam sealer all the way around the bottom of those, and then I scuff everything and paint it. A lot of times I'll just use like Rust-Oleum just to get a good paint in there, something that is easy to spray, but it's going to be pretty durable. And I will give you this little tip. Now this is a little more risky in a way. I had somebody else I know, they did a 65 or 6, and they put the cowl in and they painted it body color. Now this is before they did everything else. There was more primer to do and all that sort of thing. So they painted it body color, which in this case was red, and the bottom section of the cowl, and they let that dry. And then they took some plastic, some very light duty plastic, almost like the plastic I put over top of a car if I'm doing some paint work. They have that body mask type of plastic, and they put it inside of the cowl and just laid it in there and then welded everything together. Now I put tape, a little bit of tape in there too, I think, but they welded the thing together with that piece of plastic inside. After the car was all done, all painted, they took a hook and they went through the side vent where the actual water drains out of the cowl. Excuse me, and they got the plastic loose and pulled it out of that side vent. Now that was pretty cool because they got the paint, the factory paint color inside of the cowl. I say risky because, if you get that plastic stuck, I don't know if you're going to be able to get it out, but they must have experimented a couple times and figured out how much they could leave in there. Now, I don't know if I don't think they did the whole thing. I think they just did that midsection where you could see through it and just pulled it out. So that was a really cool idea, just for everyone's information. Glad you're here, David. Good question. Robert, been too dry for gnats and mosquitoes, but no shortage of pollen here. Pollen is a year-round thing. Yeah, we get pollen in the spring. That's about it. Mr. Mikey, no CMs are very hard to see little gnats. Yeah. But they buzz right in your ear or try to stick you in the eye. I don't know what that is. All right, so there's Fairlane Central. Hello, everyone. I got my 68 Fairlane back on the road. Time to get back to work on the 69. Okay. So I don't know if that's the comment you had posted before, but that should have come through. Or if it just released it. I don't know. Dave Britton checking in. Hello, Dave. Glad you're here. Real Nautical, they use the all thread in the seat mounting holes. Yeah, that's overkill. I think that's overkill. Without seeing what they were doing specifically, I'm just going to say that sounds like it was overkill to try to level out the floor pans with all thread. Just my thoughts, my initial thoughts on that. Car Guy Troy, hello all. Good evening from Utah. Glad you're here, Troy. Nick Bruni, thumbs up. Awesome. Dawn's Manufactory. I used angle iron clamped to the rockers to hold the floor in the correct position. Let me crawl around while fitting the floor. Okay, that'll work. Clamp to the rockers. Yeah, yeah, that works. Mr. Mikey, tell Dave a sharp spot weld cutter is a must. Oh, yeah, on the cowl. Yes, a spot weld cutter, or because I usually grind the top of the welds off, depending on what I'm trying to save or not save. Spot weld cutter is a great tool. Don't get me wrong, but if I'm scrapping the upper portion of it or whatever, I'll just take the little belt sander and just kind of grind the heads off and then split it, and that works too. So a couple different options there, but yeah, that's a great thought. Spot weld cutter, yes. Dave Britton. Hey Barry, have you ever compared the price of making your own complete floor pan with rails from available parts or doing a complete pre-made? Let me think about that. I haven't. I think I did actually. I think I did the math, but I can't remember where I ended up with that. I don't see it. Like my jig setup and all that would probably work fine, and I actually would like to try something like that at some point. But um, I'm sure I could come out ahead with that, and I know that more than likely it would it would probably work out to be very similar in price. The reason for that, if I added my hours of time to put it together versus getting one that's already built, there's a trade off there. So, but I have thought about that, and I wouldn't mind trying to do that. But I haven't. I don't think I sat down and did all the hard math on there. But that's a great idea though. Let's see. Robert says Don has a good video on masking the inside of the cowl. Okay. And Troy, I saw a guy do that on the cowl with aluminum foil, pulled it out after this, out from the side vent. Yep. Yeah, it works. Dawn, I showed how I masked Bessie's cowl after assembly. It was painted inside. Okay. We'll have to check back on that. Fairlane Central, yes, I just reposted. Okay. I don't know why it was deleted. I really don't, because I don't. These come in when I see them. Like in this case, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all I can see right now is 6 at any one given time, and I've had that happen to other people where it's just disappeared. But until I see it, I don't have any control over it. And I do have some people help me with monitoring, because I've had people before who've done some stupid stuff and try to post some garbage, and so I've had them. They've helped me out by watching for that stuff. So I don't know. I'm glad it reposted, but that's all I can say. James, one tip about cowl: to get cowl centered, it's a good idea to test fenders on both sides. You can be too far one side or the other. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I'll give you a bell for that. James, Dave, I'm assembling a full floor pan. In fact, Barry welded the rear frame cross member in for me. Yes. Yeah, we'd worked together on his project. He's got a pile of parts, and so I helped him out. Went to his place, helped him organize the stuff, and then we set up the rear frame rails, welded in the shock mount, whatever you call that piece, the cross member that the shocks mount to. Welded that in, and then of course it's on from there, getting everything else in place. But yeah, so and I don't know. Again, I haven't done the math to see what makes sense. Robert, StreamYard pulls directly from YouTube, but it often gets them out of order by one or so. Okay. Yeah, so I'd only see, again, to me, my feed is straight StreamYard. I don't know what's going on between the two. I just don't see it. So anyway, so as I was saying before, with getting stuff done and trying to get this Toyota put together, and I've done a little bit on the Mustang fenders. So the inside of those fenders are treated for rust. I took the surface conditioning tool, ground them out, got everything out of there that I possibly could, and then treated it with the rust sealant, acid rust seal, and then on top of that you can put epoxy. So the inside of the fenders are completely ready to go. Now I've been doing also some small dent work, just little things. I'm not trying to make it perfectly flat. I know it won't be perfectly flat, so I'm not going to just go crazy over it. A little bit of filler is going to square them away, and so that's what I'll do with those pieces. Now I have all the other pieces and parts, like the doors are sitting in here, and the cowl, and the rear valance, and front valance, and the deck lid, and the car, of course, is still in the paint booth. And that was part of the problem I had with trying to paint all of these Toyota parts. I've got 3 good stands, and I have a vertical stand that I can hang stuff off of. But with the car in there, I had enough room for the hood and the fenders on one day, and then the next day the bumper cover. So that's where it's at with that sort of thing. Now, one thing that was interesting, I've said it before, I don't like to spray silver and stuff like that. Especially with the flake, it's a challenge. And this color on this Camry, I like it. I like the way it looks. Now it's on the Camry, it's pretty vanilla. Like they're all painted this silver gray color. It seems like, either a lighter shade or a darker shade. That's pretty much it. But this looks a lot like maybe like the John Wick car in the color, or maybe some of the clone cars, the fastback clone cars. Very similar with that color, and it looks good. But when you see it on a modern, say a modern car, it's just not as appealing. I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. Just me. I like the way it looks, though. I think it's a great color, and I'm going to keep a note of that. I don't know if I ever do a car like that, but I want to keep track of that color code so I know what it was. David Thompson at Mr. Monkey. Yeah, I've got a few different options. Are we talking? You're talking about taking out the yeah, talking about taking out the cowl. Yeah, but check out the videos. You'll see. And I will stress this: make sure you weld that thing back in. There's been other people who have worked on cowl panels, and they've tried to use panel bond. I don't endorse panel bond at all for that purpose. The cowl is a structural part of the Mustang. I think the math says there's 135 or 137 spot welds on those things. Put them all back. Get them all back in there. Make sure it's as solid as it was when it left the assembly plant in '65. So just make sure you put in all the welds. Troy, I have a cowl to do on one of my converts. Kind of unfortunate. Thing is perfect other than the driver's side. Lower cowl is bad where the vent bolts up. Have a good original and an aftermarket. Which to use? That's a good question. And it's going to be up to you on that one. Do you have a reason to save the original? I mean, is there something in the works later on that you might want to be able to use the original? Aftermarket ones I haven't really had any problem with. At least the ones I've used. They seem to operate fine, or, fit fine and weld in fine. So that's the only way I could see. If the aftermarket, if you're trying to put a car back to more like all original metal, then I could see that. But Probably isn't really going to matter much, especially if you're doing a conversion. So, Shannon Vaughn, hello, great to be here. Glad to hear Shannon. Robert, should have made a sample panel when you were painting it. Um, I still could. I still have material. I don't know. It's got a really nice flake to it. So um, I don't know if how well this will show up, but it's a really nice. I know in the camera it almost looks kind of greenish, but it's gray. It is a charcoal gray color, and I like it. James, I have rear pan. I have rear trunk pan welded on. All brackets are spare, or four spare. Sorry. Parking brake and brake hose mount. Rear torque box welded. Quarters, tail panel, wheel houses mocked up to set rockers in correct position. That is awesome. That's awesome. Good for you. Dawn, for something completely different, bought my next project. 53 Gibson Les Paul? Wow. Wow. I think those are kind of rare, aren't they? I think those are kind of rare. I don't know. If it's made in the 50s, it's got to be rare by now. I forget what years on those, make a big difference, but good for you. James, floor pan, floor supports, convertible lower seat pan, and upper seat pan. It's coming along. Awesome. Yeah, you need to send me some pictures at some point so I can see what you got going. Real, when you paint the rear of the car or front, how do you handle painting the extensions? Do you just put them on and paint over them, or do you paint them off the car and then put them on? Yes and no. Check out my videos. I have done this on every car that I've painted, at least a Mustang. What I do is I build extensions, and it's really simple. You take some all thread. You put all thread in the extension, the quarter extension, right? You thread it in, get a piece that's like 3 or 4 inches long. You put a jam nut, a washer on each one of those. You set the extension on the quarter, and you set it to whatever depth you're comfortable with. So I might set it so it's an inch off of the quarter. Then on the inside, I put another washer and another jam nut, and I lock it down. And that extension is now basically in line with the flow of paint for the quarter. I do the same thing for the front. From the front fenders, I put the extensions, I make all pieces of all thread, put them in place. The biggest mistake people make on painting these cars is they'll paint the quarter panel, they'll paint everything else, and then they'll take that extension and lay it on a table, lay it on something flat, and they paint it. And then you put them up, and you got one with the flake flowing this way, and the other one with the flake flowing this way. And you put them together, if they have metal flake. But even a color, you put them up against each other, and you can tell it's completely different, in my opinion. So just use all thread. I have videos showing all that. Just 3 or 4 inch piece of all thread, a couple jam nuts and washers, bolt that thing on, you're good to go. That way you can get clear coat, you can get base in all around it, you can get clear coat all around it, not a problem. Good question. Let's see, Robert, that's not far off from the interior color. I painted the 66, but no flake in it. Yep, it's a nice color. Dawn, I had the extension spaced away from the fenders, keeps the metallic even. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And it's a simple thing. I mean, I keep the all thread in the drawer over there, and when it comes time to put them up, they're locked in. Real says, I remember you saying something recently about the color being different. Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. I've gone to car shows, and you'll see this. It just drives me crazy. And Roger knows. Everybody that goes to a car show with me, they leave a different person. They start to look at those they start looking at what stuff I point out, and they're like, "Oh my gosh," you know. But yeah, it's if it's got flake in it, especially, and you can't paint, you can't lay it in two different directions. In fact, Roger and I had this when we first years ago. I had a '79 Chevy Malibu, and I didn't have anything in here to set panels on. I didn't know we were kind of experimenting, and so we tried to paint that car blue, and it was a Mazda. I think it was a Mazda blue, and the paint went out. It painted fine, but the problem was we had set the doors down. This is a valuable lesson. We set the doors down, painted the fenders, painted the quarter, painted the roof, painted the doors, and then went to put stuff together, and it was like, this doesn't. None of this works, none of it, and it was just a big drain. It was a big downer to see that huge difference in the coloring. So yeah, make sure you have that stuff bolted up in place. James says, do you do extensions on those pieces if the car is painted black? If it's just black, as in no flake, I don't see it being a problem. I don't. Does that mean I will do them on a bench? Nope. I'll still put them on the car, because I'd rather have them on the car where I don't run the risk. They're not taking up space on a bench or on a stand or something like that. They're only taking up a little, whatever extra space by having them bolted to the car. So straight black, not a problem, but I'd still bolt them to it. And he says also, I was told black can be sprayed off car, no problem. Yeah, as long as there's no flake. And that's the only thing. You got to be very careful with that. Oh, and I'll tell you this. I pointed this out in the Patreon update video. The paint that I bought for the Camry project. We were talking about cost before, right? And now I can't say this is a high quality paint. This is it's a real hole in the wall shop. Put it that way. They have TranStar brand. They have Capsy. I don't remember what all brands of paint that they have in there. Or clear products. There's some what was it called? I don't even Diamond or something. But they charged me for 1 quart of this gray, and the code was 1G3. So Toyota code 1G3. It was basically $100. $100 for a quart of this gray. And again, I can't say this. They're not telling me they're high end paint. This would be more on the low scale for collision type work. So $100 for 1 quart of that, and then the clear, again, not the high end clear, but a decent clear. With hardener was $180. Now that was for a half gallon. They actually sold me a half gallon. They put it in a separate can. They gave me enough to do that in a hardener, and so $180 for a half gallon of clear with the hardener. So just so you know, we talked before about pricing. I probably have other stuff listed here for different products that I bought over the years, but I'm not gonna dig through all that to try to find that stuff. Troy, I remember seeing that in one of your videos. You painted the extension with some standoffs you made. Thought that was a cool idea. Yes, yeah, it was just all thread, because all thread it'll go right into the extensions, just like the little bolts. A little piece of the little threaded posts they put in there. It's the same thing. But thank you. James, did you get the tips for window stud guns for your stud gun, for slither studs, for roof emblems, and window clips? No, I did not. And I'm not going to worry about that. we're going to use, it'll end up with the screw-in clips like they used on the early cars. I don't know that I want to trust trying to weld the studs on for those clips. I know, like I said, the original cars, the early cars, they had to screw in clips. So I don't want to run that risk. So if I were to put the studs in and somebody went to put the clips on and those studs broke off, we didn't gain anything. And I don't know how quality, I don't know how good that stuff is. It's probably fine, but I decided to forego that, and we'll just, or the next, whoever puts it together, will have to use the screw-in clips. It's not a big deal. They sell them, they've got a little rubber gasket on them, and you can put some sealant on the screws and just run them in, be done with them. The emblems on the side, now that is something that I've been kind of mulling over. These quarter panels, if they came with those studs already there, I don't know that would work. Like, the new quarters don't have the studs on them, and I think they do that for the purpose of when you have to add filler, because you weld all this stuff together and you're going to have to put filler up there, and some of that filler may carry down into where those studs go, and I think they forego that because they don't want to have problems with somebody adding filler and trying to sand around that or trying to make it work, and then you come back in with the emblems and you can't put them on because the studs are now somewhat covered up with body filler. So I think that's why they said, hey, let's just not even do it. So as far as the emblems go, I've seen, I think it's CJ Pony, maybe others, they sell a kind of a lightweight emblem for the side that basically you can put on with high quality double stick tape. I have no problem with that. It seems like that's a decent idea. You could put that emblem exactly where you want it, use the double stick tape, and hold it in place. Who's going to know the difference? Nobody. So they put all kinds of stuff on these cars. New cars have all that double stick tape holding all kinds of stuff on. I don't think it'll be a big concern. But yeah, I thought about it. I did look at those stud guns, but I just decided not to do it. Robert, the screw-in studs work fine and have a sealant on them. Besides, that car will never see rain again, so no biggie. Yeah, that's why I look at it too. It's not going to be a problem. Screw-in studs or screw-in clips will be just fine. Rusty, do you do the same on the headlight rings? I was going to paint the headlight buckets first. So when you say do you on the headlight extensions, right? I do the same thing. Now on the 65 and 6 car, it's a little more challenging because they're held in with just some screws. So you have to come up with something. I think I'm trying to remember what I used. I found like a long screw that I could put through the extension and just kind of have them hanging out there. But yeah, I do the same thing with on the front as well. So it really does pay off whenever you. To me, it does. Like, I guess I'm so used to the collision work we did and painting and seeing the difference between how the flake lays and which way it flows, and like even this bumper cover hanging over here, I have a stand in the back. Just to give you some perspective, they sell a stand called the bumper thingy. I think is what it's called, bumper thing or bumper thingy, and it's a stand that you can put a bumper cover on and clamp it in 4 places and rotate it up so that you can level it out and make it look like it sits on the car. I don't have one of those, but I kind of improvise and I have something of my own design that I can put that bumper cover on and hang it just like it is on the car. And again, so the flake is flowing the correct way when you spray it. Because if you lay the bumper cover down and you spray down on it, or on the sides, you're trying to spray it, it's not the same. So you want to have it up and have it in place. And it shows. And I know that I've had people bring me a car or something, and they'll talk about it, and they say, "Oh, this car was, you know," I'll say, where did you get this car? And they'll say, "Oh, I bought it off of so and so." And the great thing is, it's never been wrecked. And I was like, I look at them and I go, "This car has been repainted. This whole side's been redone." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, this is," and I have to tell them, "At least this fender and this door have been replaced or worked on, and this and that and the other." And they're like, "How do you see that?" And I just said, "I just see it because I'm so used to it." And now they look at it and they go, "I can't unsee it." Yeah, that's. I try not to. When I go, like I said, I go to a car show or something, and I look at something, and I have to walk away a lot of times. I don't want to stand there and pick apart their car. I don't want to, talk to the person and tell them, "Oh, this looks like crap because of this." I don't do that. But I do notice, and it just stands out to me. So it's like, well, it is what it is, I guess. Robert, I made the mistake of painting a lower front spoiler on a stand. Even with a solid color, it didn't look right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and lower valance and all that, that's a challenge. That's a challenge to get it hanging in the right plane and get the color on it. Yeah. Faith followers, 2-inch screw and 3/16 inch brake tubing works good. There you go. As a spacer. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a great idea. See? See? He's on board. I like it. Good call. You get an extra bell. I hadn't thought about the brake tubing. Yeah. Now that would be, to me, that would work good for the front extensions. But in the back, they have those big holes, so you still have to have a washer or something. And that's why I like the all thread, because you can set it and you can run your jam nut wherever you want it and have it positioned. Because if you don't have something holding it against the big hole in the quarter, it could move, it could slide in. So yeah, but in the front, I could see that working very well. Yeah, that's a great idea. Now, the weather's getting better right now. I know that I've got a lot to do, and I've got to get these front fenders taken care of. At least get them in epoxy, and I'd like to get them in high build I would like to by the end of this week. So I have to get this Toyota taken care of, get it all put together, and get it out of the way. And then once I get the fenders in primer, I need to bolt up everything. I need to bolt up the doors, get a look at them, bolt the fenders on, try to get everything lined up where it's going to make me happy. Put the hood on. I want to have everything working and have the hood open and close and set the cowl up and everything in place to know that my gaps are right, and I'll be happy with getting the paint. Now, I don't know what, again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with paint yet. This store will sell me, that I talked about, they will sell me their high-end Transtar. I think that was their base coat was Transtar. And for 1 gallon of black jade, that was going to be $400. So that's that's the same as what this is. This was $100 a quart, and they're saying $400 for a gallon of black jade, and then they wanted 300. That's the same price, $300 for the clear. So I don't know. I'm going to do some research and see whether I'm going to use PPG or if I'm going to use Sherwin-Williams, or I don't know yet. I have to call PPG and say, what's a gallon of base coat going for now? And then I might call, Sherwin-Williams and say, what's the cost going for? Yeah, and just see what they say. Because really, the end result is you want you spend the money on the clear. Because you can buy Shopline base or you can buy Omni base or whatever, and really, the more expensive the base, the more solids it has in the mix. So what that means is you could put 2 coats of Omni on versus 3 coats of Shopline. Essentially, that's what that comes down to. So, James, after stripping the original paint off the parts I'm saving, I noticed Ford paint the black single stage paint directly on red oxide. Will gray sealer change the black tone or paint over red oxide sealer? That's a good question. And it shouldn't make a difference with the black. It shouldn't. Now, what I would probably do is put on 3 good coats of whatever color I'm using. 3 good coats. And then get it. I have one of those little generic sun gun things from Harbor Freight. Get one of those. You can turn it. You can take that light and shine it. Look over the whole panel, and see if there's any light areas anywhere on that panel. And if you have to, put another coat on. But yeah, I don't think it's going to make much difference with black. So, Faith Followers, your version for the back works great. Yeah, thank you. And also, he says that's base. Yeah, base coat. I was paying $100 for a quart, and I don't know what brand it is. It's whatever they gave me. Now, I will say this: they put it. So this shop, this is the formula report, and it says Transtar. So maybe this is Transtar. I don't know. The can says Capsy. I don't know. They didn't tell me what it was, but it was $100 a quart. Oh, Don. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's why it's doing that so much. It shouldn't be. I mean, I don't. Oh, so let me see if I can do something about that. If it'll let me change it. See if I don't know. I'll see what if I can change it. Sorry. Robert says give Clark's a call and ask about the mixed paint, etc. Yeah, and that's a paint company that Robert has used. I think he sent me a link to them, and I forget where they're located. So, okay. And Robert, the ads have been really numerous tonight. And Ed says election ads. Huh. Yeah, and James says, I haven't seen any ads tonight. Ad frequency based on viewer, not streamer. Okay. Robert, not many ads on the TV. My phone, it's every couple minutes. And Roger, the ad frequency is different on my TV and my phone, much more frequent on the TV stream, no idea why. That's weird. So Roger's seeing them more on the TV stream, and Robert's seeing them more on the phone stream. Okay, that's bizarre. Troy, just watched a guy use Restoration Shop brand Wimbledon White, would not cover. Had to use 2 gallons of color, so your solids explanation makes sense. Paint was cheaper, but had to use much more of it. Yeah, yeah, and that's just how it is. That's what you're paying for, more solids in the base coat. And again, your payoff is 2 coats or 3 coats of one or 2 coats of the other, whatever. But clear coat is where you really need to spend the money. That's where things show up at the end. Faith followers, do you have a code for the Black Jade? No, I do not. I do not. That's easy enough to get though. The PPG store will have that code. They have all the old paint chip books and stuff like that, so not a big deal there. Anybody will have that with a legit paint store. And Car Guy says, or Troy says, no ads here, so that's even more interesting. Okay. Well, I clicked on something different to try to reduce the ad count. I don't know if it's going to help or not. We will see. But yeah, so I need to go one way or the other. I don't know how good Transtar is compared to PPG or Sherwin-Williams, or I don't know. I don't keep up with it enough to say one is this much better than the other. But let's see. Tim Miller, just red oxide painted my 70 Mach 1 underside and under hood. Block sanding is no fun. Used EXP primer inside. Okay. Yeah, red oxide, or any of the oxides, or epoxy. Well, let's see. He's red oxide, so it doesn't say epoxy. Block sanding is no fun. Used EXP primer inside. Okay. Yeah, I forget what the. I will say this. Some people were asking me. Let me see if I can grab this can. This was the primer that I used on the Mustang. This NCP 271. Okay, Deltron. And again, I don't know how this compares to anything else. I really don't. I have no idea. I know it can be used as a high build. I did use some of this on the Toyota, primarily because I wanted to see how it sanded. And it sanded really nice. I know some people were asking me about this. It sanded out really, really nice. I can't complain about this primer at all. I normally use standard PPG, shop line, whatever, high build. But this stuff, it sanded really, really nice. So, can't complain about it. Troy, he had to do 5 coats, he said, to get it to cover. Yeah. And, that's a color too. A lot of it depends on the color. So, like, I painted jade twice, right? The first time I did it, I thought it looked fantastic. And I didn't do a check with my light. I didn't have the light at the time. And the driver's door in particular you could see through it. You could see the gray underneath it. And I said, I'm redoing the whole car. Because there's a few other things I wanted to fix. So I redid the whole car. Those lights are critical. Like we used to have what we call a sun gun at the body shop. And it was a battery operated handheld light that was as bright as the sun, supposedly. But you could shine that on the panel and you could see through the paint, or if it was thin or anything like that. So it showed you coverage. That generic Harbor Freight thing, it does very, very much the same thing at a much cheaper cost. Those other guns were from 3M, and they were like, I don't know, $400 or $500, and that little light from Harbor Freight wasn't even $50. And it works great. So that saved me. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised it took that much paint. Tim Miller says DP40 red. Okay. James, remember Elon Musk is giving away $1 million to some on each day from my swing state. I'm glad I am blue in Georgia If I win, I'm giving Barry $100,000 to finish my car. Yeah, I'll take it. Tim Miller says PPG like. Yes. And Don says Betsy took many coats to get coverage. Yeah. One of the problems I ran into when I did the light blue Mustang was that color is a Caspian blue or whatever. It's just it's almost like this blue, super light. And I painted the car, used primer, gray primer like I'd always used before. And when it came time to paint the car, I had a hard time seeing between the gray and that blue. I was like, oh gosh, I'm really worried about this because I could not tell. So I put extra paint on that car just because I wanted to make sure I had that gray washed out. Um, so I should have probably used maybe a little bit different color primer, or the primer comes in different levels of gray, but it worked out just fine. But yeah, it can take a lot of paint to cover up some of this stuff. Robert, I was feeling Don's pain with all those coats he had to do and redo. Yeah. Michael Pagliarini, it took my neighbor 3 gallons of shop line to paint his 49 F100. Mango peach was the color, very translucent. It cost $600 a gallon. $600 a gallon for shop line? Ouch. 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 Yeah. That's yeah. Mango peach, so that does sound like a very translucent type of color. Glad you're here, Michael. Sorry. Lewis, can you have your primer tinted close to the color coat? I'm sure you can. I've not tried that before. I've not considered that idea before. Um, there could be some value in that, but I've not looked into that at all. Usually, I try to get a color that's going to be more opposite if I can. Now I try to focus on, like, this car is going to be black jade, so the gray is going to be fantastic. I could spray that green over that, and it's going to go away, and you'll know it instantly. So you run a risk maybe if I can see where you're coming from. Let's say you had a blue car and you tinted the primer blue, and then you sprayed it. That helps you hide any flaws, but it also kind of may allow for flaws because you're not, maybe didn't get the paint in the right spot, and now you've got clear coat over top of primer. And the right angle, and looking at it, you could see that show up. So I could see the advantage of that, but I haven't thought about doing that before. But good question, Lewis. James, my wife's car roof burned up in the Georgia sun. I'm going to practice my painting skills on her daily driver before the Mustang. She's worried. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll let you paint my little Honda Fit. You can do whatever you want to that car. The paint's so bad on that. I mean, it looks horrible. It really does. Robert, you can mix a small amount of top coat paint into the primer. It's usually specified in the tech sheets how much to add. There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Troy says all this paint talk. What is a good brand? Not super familiar. That's a good question. Typically I paint everything with PPG, but I've also heard that Sherwin-Williams makes good paint. This stuff here is TranStar. I don't know where that is in the scale of paint qualities. I really don't know. Robert and I have talked about this, that most places get all the materials from the same place, and it's what they add to it to make their mix, right? So your cheaper paints are going to have less solids in them and take more paint, as we mentioned. More paint to cover the stuff. But I don't know that there's much. To be honest, I can't say there's much difference between brands of paint because it's just a color. I I mean, granted, it's got flake in it. It's got whatever they put in it to make it their brand, but it's a color. So it's more important to me to have the right color and coverage. Is it? Does it have to be PPG? Probably not. Does it have to be Sherwin-Williams? No. I mean, there's people that use one brand of paint and another brand of clear coat. They don't care. It does what it does. Michael says Kirker will tint primer. Okay. Dave Britton, a buddy of mine, says he often tints the primer one shade off so the stone chips don't show as much. That's not a bad idea. I like that thought. Yeah, good idea. Robert, Imron used to be what everyone wanted and no one wanted to use. Yeah. Yeah, Imron is like probably it's a super tough paint and everything, but it'll kill you too. It's not. I've never used it, but I've heard horror stories about how bad Imron is for everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research on the which brand of paint I'm gonna go with, um, and it may still be color. It may still be the PPG. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Haven't gotten that far. Ed Cucurella, wow, Transtar, that was one of the suppliers. That's one of suppliers when when I was in the transmission world. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how good Transtar is or whatever. But Bob Shoemaker color matching ability was better with the PPG we had than the Sherwin-Williams. Okay. Yeah, see, I don't know if what I'm gonna worry about as far as, getting a gallon of base and painting everything that color. I shouldn't have to worry about matching anything unless, something were to happen later to it. Dave Britton, they used to guarantee that the panel would dent before a stone could chip the paint with Imron. Yeah. Yeah, that was some tough stuff. Black GTX Sherwin-Williams does make good paint. We did my buddy's Olds with it. The paint laid down really nice. Okay. They written thicker metal back then too. Yeah. James says, I've heard PPG is considering doing pre-mixed base. Just shake, pour, paint. I guess it's a sneaky way to make more money since a gallon of paint can make 1.25 to 1.5 gallons after mixing. Actually, most paints are mixed 1-to-1. Most paints are a 1-to-1 mix. So you can get 2 gallons out of a gallon. Blind Like Mechanic, that's well, my dad and I years ago painted a C10 pickup truck with Imron and no mask. No mask, I know, wasn't a smart idea. No matter what the paint, I do better nowadays with safety. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Imron was brutal. Lewis, I heard Matrix was good. I haven't used it. Okay. And Terry says the activator for Imron smells like cocoa. Ask me how I know. Ed Cucurella, sorry for the typo. Big company getting bigger. They have their hands in lots of auto-related parts and supplies. Okay, talking about Transtar. Okay. Robert, there are some that are 3/4 gallon, and you add 1 quart of hardener activator to the base. I've not gone down that path. Everything I've used has always been a 1-to-1 mix. As far as anything I've used for paint stuff, it's always been 1-to-1. Faith followers don't know if you're interested in this, but you can look up the coating store. Okay. Well, maybe I'll give that a look. Dave, I saw a video of a guy painting the other day, and a gallon can was missing. Was missing the amount of the activator. Wait a minute. Saw a video of a guy painting the other day, and a gallon was missing the amount of the activator. Robert, the 3/4 gallon stuff is the lower quality stuff. Oh, okay. Well, like I said, everything I've ever gotten from PPG or anywhere else, even this paint store that's local, semi-local, they'll point out it's 1-to-1 mix. So that's all I've ever done is 1-to-1. Don says Omni Base did not have a hardener. Yeah. James, Matrix was sold last year. It's not good anymore. There's outraged paint market upset about it. Okay. Oh, so it was sold, like the business was sold, I guess. And Lewis, URE Chem is very good paint. Okay. Robert, often single stage urethane is sold as 3/4, but it still needs a clear coat if you want it to be durable. Okay, so single stage. And Bob says usually old Imron mixes were the 3/4 fill and left room for activator. Yeah, I've only ever sprayed just regular base, and it's always been a 1-to-1 mix. So that's all I've ever known. Okay, let's see. We've been going at this for an hour and 22 minutes. I think that's pretty good for tonight. I know I still have 54 people watching, and I know we've covered a lot of ground with paint and different stuff like that. I need to do some research and try to figure out what I'm going to end up doing or using later on when I finally get to the paint process or, on the Cobra Jet. But as it is right now, everything is, I'm trying to get this Toyota taken care of, get that done, and get it out of the way. Let's see. A couple questions. Blind Mechanic, any experience with House of Color brand? I have not used House of Color. And James, Barry, what's your gun for base and clear? I just bought Eastwood CC50 or 500 gun. I've been using that Master Pro Elite for everything. And it's worked great. Okay. So let's call it a night. And I will be back next Monday. That'll be the 28th. And we'll have another live stream and go from there. Hopefully we've got a good group of people that show up again. But thanks for being here. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.